I've been playing guitar for over 20 years, and the last 15 has been specifically mostly metalcore, like 2000s metalcore, Kill Switch, As I Lay Dying, both from Valentine. And I've gotten pretty damn good at it. And honestly, my students over the last few years have gotten pretty damn good at it as well. In this video, I want to go over 3 struggles that pretty much every beginner faces, and it can take years to figure this out if you don't know what to look for. So we're going to talk about that in this video, and you guys are going to be so much better at playing metalcore by the end of this. And by the way, if you want to be one of those students that gets really good at playing awesome metalcore riffs that sound like this, then you can join my program. The link is below. Check it out. We'd love to have you. So I've been lifting weights, training in the gym for almost as long as I've been playing guitar. What I've come across and what I've noticed myself, even like as a young kid or as a teenager or as a young adult lifting weights, is that if your diet is not in order, if you're not eating the right stuff or you're not putting the right stuff in your body, you're not going to get the results that you want no matter how much you train or how well you train in the gym. And to me, the right-handed picking, that is like the diet of metalcore guitar, because it's so super important to be very fluent and understand the correct way to approach the right hand. You know, when it comes to other styles of guitar like blues or jazz or even rock, it's not as important. The right hand's not as important. It's simply just picking notes. I mean, there's always some importance to it, but as far as how important it is, that type of stuff, it's not as important as it is when you get to the faster, heavier riffs, like that sort of thing, for a few reasons. First of all, we talk about tone. You know, I get questions all the time about, like, what are your settings on your amp? Like, what are the pedals that you're using? What are you using to get your tone? And I would say more than 50% of my tone comes from picking, the right hand picking. Listen. Versus there is a specific way to pick to get a specific sound from your instrument. And it's not only the tone and the sound that comes out of your guitar, but also it determines how long and how fast you can play these riffs and these songs. Like, if you want to be somebody that performs songs live or just plays songs in your room, eventually you want to get to the point to where you can play multiple songs in a row without taking long breaks. And if I'm picking like this, which is probably the way that you started picking, or maybe the way that you pick right now, I'm going to run out of steam. I'm going to run out of energy so much quicker than if I pick the correct way like this. And the difference is I'm twisting my hand like this. Well, I have my hand down more to where I'm not having to like reach to get to the strings, but I also am picking more like I'm turning a key in a lock versus like I'm playing drums. So right hand picking is something that most beginners struggle with, and it can take a long time to get to where you're comfortable with your right hand. And it's so super important when it comes to playing fast rhythm style riffs like the ones that I play, and this is the ones that I teach and the ones that you probably like if you're watching my videos. Second struggle it has to do with the left hand and finger independence, specifically my fingers being able to move separately from each other and do what I need them to do. I don't want to have to think about where my fingers are going. Ultimately, at first, when you're just learning a riff, it takes a little bit of time and you have to figure it out, and you have to think about both the right hand and the left hand. That's why I always suggest that when you're learning a riff, if it makes sense, I'll go back to that Trivium riff I just played, the like Light to Fly. I suggest that you learn one area at a time if it works that way. Sometimes it doesn't, but for this riff it does. I could learn And then I could add the chugs in later on after I'm familiar with where my fingers need to go and I don't have to think about it. But it's necessary to spend the time to do the things that are going to make your fingers move independently from each other, which are some exercises that I teach in my program, which again you can join if you click the link below. Even stuff, just simple stuff like this. So this one is one that I do every time before I start to play. And I hit, it's basically 3-note combinations, and I use different finger combinations each time. And then I start with the first finger on the way down, or up, I guess, and then the pinky on the way back. But then I also do the opposite. I start with the middle finger, first finger, and then opposite going back. So I'm kind of hitting these fingers and these combinations in different ways, and trying to make my fingers work in different ways to teach them to do different things, pretty much. So another good one that I like to show people is just not using your right hand, but just placing all 4 fingers on 4 frets right next to each other, and then just one at a time, take like my pinky, go to the bottom, to the top, even just hit each string, just basically just move my pinky away from all these other fingers independently from them, and just to teach my pinky to do that, because that's the hardest part, I think, for most people, is to move the pinky and the ring finger separately. It's just the muscles, for most of us, between those 2 fingers just don't want to separate. So working on that on a regular basis is gonna, within just a week or 2, you're gonna notice a phenomenal difference in being able to play riffs like this As I Lay Dying riff. You see how much stuff I'm doing with my left hand. There's different positions, different ways my fingers have to move to play that riff correctly. And by doing some of these exercises on a regular basis to challenge your left hand and challenge your finger independence is going to be completely beneficial to you when you are playing these riffs. Because like I said, I do have to spend time to familiarize myself with exactly where my fingers need to go and how this riff is played. But it's going to come a lot easier if I'm already used to doing different things with my fingers, because I do it every single day or every time I play. Work on finger independence. Do some finger independent exercises and challenge your fingers independently every time you sit down and play guitar. Last struggle is knowing like what notes sound good together and what notes to play to play stuff that sounds melodic and cool and like metalcore. And a lot of people think you need to spend all this time learning a bunch of music theory to be able to understand this, but it really comes down to 7 notes. There's only one scale that you really need to know. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of other keys and a lot of other scales that are used in metalcore and used in metal that sound awesome, and it's cool to learn multiple scales and keys eventually, but there's really only 7 notes that you need to know in the beginning, and you could play and have a very fun time playing some melodic stuff that you come up with yourself and writing hundreds and thousands of melodic awesome riffs with just these 7 notes. I call it the metalcore scale. A lot of people consider it to be like the 5-7-8 riff. That's basically what this scale is, and it's just the key is whatever is drop tuning. I'm in drop C right now, so it's based off of a drop tuning scale, which is the root note, or the note of the scale that the scale is named after is the open low string, which is also the open 4th string, and then it's also the 5th fret of the 5th string. So a C minor is going to be the key that I'm playing this in. So I'll just play like an improv riff that I have never played before right now to show you guys how awesome this scale actually is and how melodic and diverse this scale can be, especially once you get familiar playing it. So if I understand the scale and I know like what notes I can play and where they're at, and it's super simple to learn. which actually have a very inexpensive lesson that I'll link below too, that you guys can and check it out if you want to learn more about the scale. But I can play chords. I don't even really know what some of these chords are called, but I know that they sound good because I know the notes that sound good together because I know this scale. I could play riffs. In fact, that Trivium riff that we played a couple times, that is based off of this scale. Another riff that you guys probably would know that is based off of this scale, which is pretty awesome. Well, actually, an entire song would be the My Curse Kill Switch. The entire song is in that key. Another cool riff that you guys probably know would be Confined by As I Lay Dying. That's pretty much all I wanted to cover. Right hand picking, very, very essential, very important. Focus on that first thing. It's like the diet of metalcore, and if you don't have your diet in order, you are not going to see the results that you want. So if you don't have your right hand in order, you're not going to see the results that you want. Finger independence with metalcore, there's a lot of different finger movement, and it's very important that you can move your fingers independently because you're not going to be able to play the riffs if you can't. It's important to understand what notes go good together. If you want to write your own riffs, you want to just be able to pick up the guitar and play some dope ass shit without having to really think about it. It's important to understand the metalcore scale, and then you can branch off from there and learn other scales and other theory. But this is probably the place that you should start, in my opinion, especially for metalcore. So that's basically the three most important concepts that I would say. But another concept that's very important is consistency and picking up your guitar on a regular basis. I try to play every single day, even if it's like 10 or 15 minutes, but then there's some days where I play like an hour and a half or whatever. But consistency is going to be very important if you want to see true results with your guitar playing in metalcore, even if it's only like 30 minutes a day. Or if you are a beginner metalcore guitarist and you've watched all the way through this video and you got some value from this, and you're like, hey man, I would rather you just give me every single video that is very important for me to learn, and just give me the structure, just hand it over to me so that I don't have to keep going through YouTube videos and going through short form content and this and that. I just want you to give me the answers. That's what my program is. The link is below. I'd be happy to have you join the program. It would be awesome. Other than that, thank you for watching this far. Have a good day.